Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. In today's video, I will be talking about the mindset of climbing, the mindset of just improving or getting better at something and how it relates to TFT. Now, this is going to be a lot of my personal philosophies and a lot of stuff that I believe in that I want to share to help you guys. It's going to be a little bit off the cuff. I have this like loosely organized in an outline to kind of collect my thoughts together, but yeah, that's going to be a lot of me talking off the cuff, and I'll try to not make this too long. To me, mindset is 90% of the work. To me personally, it is 90% of the work, and a lot of people would agree with that. And if you watch anybody who's hyper successful that talks so much about mindset, I'm not someone who's hyper successful, but I am someone who has been very successful in TFT. And in my professional life, in the previous career that I left before I started doing content creation, I was very successful there. And I use this mindset. And I just think mindset is so important. One of the most important things, especially in competitive video games. All right, let's just get into it. Now, my camera's going to cover a little bit of the text, but again, this text is mostly for me and to just give a little bit of a visual representation. But let's just get into it. It's going to be in 3 parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about some very general stuff. If you're reading the information, just please listen to what I have to say. It'll be some very general stuff right here. And then part 2, I'm excited about part 2. I'll be talking about a little bit more how it relates to TFT and kind of using a graph and some stuff that maybe you've seen before. And part 3, I'm going to give you my specific training method for improving at TFT specifically. What I do every single set to get better, because I am someone who always has a slow start, despite me being challenger since set 4. Despite me being challenger, I feel like I have to relearn every single set, and I go through this process of getting better every single time. So I want to give you my philosophy that has worked for me in TFT and for other stuff. Now, before we talk about this slide, you've probably seen this, probably heard a lot of this stuff. But that's with good reason, right? Stuff doesn't really change. Your mindset stuff doesn't change that much. And so if you have heard it before, I'll be reiterating it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Because this is kind of like obligatory things that you need to hear and you need to do. And this is just my personal mindset, my personal grind set. There are different ways to do this, but this is how I do it. All right, let's get into it. General philosophy. Lose is improve. Lose is improve. Let's get into that. So every loss is your fault. This is the mindset. Obviously, not every loss is going to be your fault, but there's always something that you can do. So whenever you lose and whenever you get done with a game, you're done with a session, what could you have done differently instead of focusing on the things outside of your control? So really think about what are some decision points, what are some things in the game, specifically decision points is a really good point. What are some decision points that you could have made differently? Don't try to think of it retroactively. Don't think about like, well, I took this augment and then I hit this, so therefore I should have took the other augment. You can't think about it that way. That is out of your control on what you're going to hit and stuff like that in TFT. But really think about what are those critical decision points, and what if you did make a different decision? Why would you have made a different decision, and how would that have impacted your game? Don't think about it retroactively. It's very hard. You can get very stuck in thinking of it retroactively, but really think about things in your control. Don't think about RNG. Don't think about that stuff. RNG can play a part in your analysis. And sometimes you do get mort dogged, but you don't get mort dogged into an 8th place if you're in low elo. You just don't. And that is just a fact. And I'll talk about what low elo means to me in a minute, but I don't want to trigger anybody just yet. Okay. Luck and balance have nothing to do with your rank and ability. It just doesn't. If you're anywhere below like master 200 LP, like your peak rank, once the ranks are stabilized, if you're below like master 200 LP, luck and balance have nothing to do with your rank or ability. It just doesn't. I mean, some patches are horrendous, and those are some exceptions, but those are very few and far between. There are some bad patches, but the patches that are like just horrendous are, I mean, I can only remember 2 in the past year that were that bad. It's probably like the Vayne 2-star in set 5 and War Week in set 4. Those you can get a pass on. But almost every other patch, even if they're poorly balanced, really below master 200 LP or so, has nothing to do with your rank or ability. It really doesn't. It really doesn't, and you just need to know that. Okay, cool. So don't compare yourself to others. This is a good and a bad thing, and you can compare yourself to others to a point, but I think in general, comparing your results and comparing your ability to others is very difficult to do, especially at first. So this usually has two results. One, puts you in the pits of despair because you compare yourself to someone who's much better than you at the game or much better than you at your chosen field. It can really put you in the dumps, and you can just see this insurmountable growth that you need to hit to be comparable with them. Also, you can just have this problem of like, I've done the same work. I feel that I'm good. I'm just as good as this person, and they're just getting way better results. And that can really put you in the pits of despair if you're not able to check it. Now, it can be healthy to do that, but from my experience, it is tough. I definitely fall into this number one camp, puts you in the pits of despair. If I try to compare myself to others too often, I am definitely prone to putting myself in the pit of despair. Like, I am someone who usually has a slow start to a set. I just don't play as much as everyone else. You know, everyone around my rank is playing like 10 to 12 hours a day. I'm playing 6 hours a day, not even every day. I'm playing like 5 days a week, and I'm working on YouTube and stuff like that. And I just put more focus on that. The meta moves a little bit too fast for me because I'm not playing enough. So I can definitely put myself in the pits of despair, and then I normally climb out of that once, you know, eventually I hit Challenger, like on the second month or so of the set, and I can feel better about myself. So, but I fall prey to this myself. So it can put you in the pits of despair, or two, inflate your ego. Neither of these are that great for growth. If you're in the pit of despair, it is really hard to climb out of it. And a lot of you will be in the pit of despair, and maybe that's appropriate for your skill level or appropriate for your knowledge level, but you got to get out of that mindset if you truly want to improve. At least I think so, because it can get you down, and it can make every loss feel so much worse, and every win feel meaningless, which is not very good. And inflating your ego, I think, is one of the number one problem in anything competitive, is having an inflated ego can really mess you up. I mean, for some people, having an inflated ego is what drives them, and having a small amount of ego or having an appropriate amount of ego that fits your skill level is a very good motivation tool to grind and to climb. Once I start to feel better about the game, I do gain an ego, and that does help me actually improve. So so you just have to check these things, and just comparing yourself to others can be a very tough prospect. So just make sure you're checking yourself when you're doing that. Okay, the last thing, keep your ego in check. This kind of relates to this, and it's going to relate to a lot of my next slide, which I'm really excited to talk about the next slide. So I can't wait to get to that. So keep your ego in check. A small amount of ego, just like I said, is healthy when improving, but an inflated ego is the enemy of progress for most people. This is basically what I just said. Dude, in video games, it is so bad. It is so bad when you get an inflated ego. I mean, every competitive game I've ever played, the people with the biggest egos are the people who are like in mid-tier elo or low elo. Are the people with the biggest egos, and then people who are in super high elo also have big egos, but their ego actually appropriately matches their skill level, so it makes more sense. But we just talked about this, so we're about to go to the next slide. I don't want to go too fast because I want to preface the next slide. The next slide I think is the most important stuff you'll hear, except for maybe the training method. If you don't have a good training method for improving, that'll be the last slide. The next slide I think is so important. And I'm really excited to talk about it. And I'm going to preface the next slide before I talk about what I'm going to talk about. I'm not trying to save my ass or anything or try to save face, because I'm going to be calling out a lot of you in the next slide, and I might offend a lot of people in the next slide. And the reason why I say this, because every single set I make a how I hit Challenger video, and I talk a lot about what I'm about to talk about. And this is the only thing I ever post on my channel that I get like negative comments about, and it just breaks my heart to see it, because the person who is writing that negative comment is exactly the person I'm trying to reach. It's exactly the person I'm trying to reach. And so again, in the next slide, I'm going to call some of you guys out. I might upset some of you, but just know that it is coming purely from a place of love and a place of, I just want to help you. If you're one of the people I'm calling out and you get like offended, so just please go into that mindset. I mean, I don't care if someone writes something negative about me or negative to me. The only thing I care about is I just see that person is not growing and they're failing. And that's what breaks my heart, not actually just getting the negative comment. So yeah, let's get into it. Boom. All right, we're going to talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. I know, sorry about your eyes. I know, it's tough. But the dark mode versions of these were not very good graphs that I found. If you search the Dunning-Kruger effect, this is going to be the first image you find. And it's a pretty good graph. Now, you've probably heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect. A lot of you have probably heard of it. If you've taken any type of psychology or sociology class or anything like that, or just, you've just done a little bit of research, you may have heard of this. It is one of the most observable, most well-documented phenomenons in kind of human psychology and sociology and stuff like that. I'm not an expert. I'm going to be explaining my interpretation of this, and it's pretty simple, but I'll be explaining my interpretation and stuff. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. Just know that, but I think it's very apt for gaming, and that's why I'm using it here. So I'm going to explain what this graph means, and you can probably figure it out on your own, but I'm going to explain what this graph means, and then I'm going to talk about it a little bit more and then relate it to ranks and TFT. I will be generalizing a lot, so just understand I'll be generalizing, but this is what I found from my experience from playing the game for years and playing in a lot of ELOs. I'm going to probably say this again, but I am not someone, I think a lot of people can get caught up in this. I am not someone who has always been top level at this video game. I'm generally pretty good at stuff when I start. I just am. I have a pretty decent aptitude for strategy games, stuff like that. I just am. But I've been a hard stuck master player. I've been a hard stuck diamond player. Basically every set I'm hard stuck master for the first few weeks. It takes me forever to climb out of there because again, I don't play as much as everyone else, and so just know I am in these games with these players I'm going to talk about. And in past sets, I've made several accounts and played in several ELOs. And this is what I've gathered. And I'm also basing this on information from other high ELO players that I've spoken to, that I know personally, that I've seen. And they share this type of opinion that I'm going to have. So, all right, cool. Let's talk about the graph. So over here on the left side, because you probably can't see, it is low to high on this axis. It's confidence is on this axis, and then on this axis right here, it is competence or knowledge. It goes from know nothing to guru or like novice to expert. Okay, so let's just talk about what this means, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so right when you start something, your competence level is your competence and confidence level are both super low. They're appropriately matched because you've never done it before, right? But as soon as you start to taste any type of success, you enter what is called peak amount stupid. Now, this is not everybody, but this is a lot of people. Me, even someone who is super self-reflective, I meditate, I practice stoicism, which is all about like, being mindful. I can even fall prey to this. You enter peak amount stupid, which is where your confidence level is super high, but your competence level is actually incredibly low. Now, if a lot of people live here, and now if you push past that, a lot of people enter what's called the Valley of Despair, which is where it's an Aristotle quote that I always butcher, but you start to know enough about something to know that you know nothing. And that can really get you in the Valley of Despair. But this is honestly probably the appropriate level of confidence you should feel about this. But this is a really bad place to be mentally. And if you get past here, a lot of people get stuck here. It's very difficult to push out of this, and I personally fall prey to this myself in a lot of things that I do. Cool. So you get stuck in this Valley of Despair because you just see how much stuff is ahead of you, and you just see people who are over here, and they're just so you realize how much you don't know and how much other people do know, and you can get really stuck in here and compare yourself to others, and it can feel really bad. Okay. Once you push through that, you enter a slope of enlightenment where now your competence and confidence level start to climb kind of like together. So kind of correlates together appropriately. It's kind of like a 1-to-1 ratio, can have some variance between people. And then you enter what's called the plateau of sustainability, where now you have learned enough about a subject or a chosen field that your confidence level is high and your competence level is also decently high, and you continue to learn and grow from here. But a lot of times, people's confidence level will never even peak past their Mount Stupid level. That is really common. It can go up to the appropriate level, but a lot of people will. This is where they peak in terms of confidence, is when they actually know nothing on a subject. Okay, now this is one of the most observable things, one of the most easily observable things in your life. Just open up any social media app and you will see how many people fit into this category. You'll see how common it is. That's why our world is the way that it is. That's why a lot of competitive games, that's why a lot of people act the way that they do in competitive games. That's that's why people like to share their opinions about everything, is because a lot of people fall into this. Most people fall into this level. Not many people are experts on a subject. That's just reality. Okay, so how does this relate to TFT, and how does this relate to skill distribution in TFT? Okay, this is going to be hard for a lot of you to hear, and if you've watched any of my climbing videos before, I talk about this a lot because I think it is so important. This is not me trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Let me just say, if you're happy about a rank that you hit, that is awesome. I love that for you, and that's great. But this is talking about how to push past that and what is actually the skill distribution in TFT and how I can help you actually truly get good at the game or get great at the game. If that is not your goal, that's fine. And if your goal is just to hit a certain rank and you just want to chill there, that is perfectly fine. But that's not what we're talking about, okay? If you are, and we're talking about peak ranks here, once the game is stabilized. If you are master 200 LP or below, so that's master, that's diamond, that's platinum, that's maybe gold, maybe gold, you're in there. And you think that you're good at the game, and you truly think you can compete with the best of them. I'm generalizing. And you play the game a lot. You are here. You are here. I know this is hard for some of you to hear, and this is not just my opinion. This is tons of other people have this opinion, tons of other streamers, tons of other high elo players. They look at the game and skill distribution this way. And honestly, I just don't even think it's up for debate. The skill distribution in TFT. I just don't. I'm not interested in debating it with anybody, by the way. I'm just not. I'm trying to help you guys. If you fall in that category and you think that you are good at the game and you truly think that you are like as good as like Soju or something like that, or someone who is actually pretty good at the game, you're probably here. And this is coming from someone who has played in Master ELO for a long time. I've been hard stuck before. I've made so many accounts climbing in those ELOs. I mean, in set 4, I think I had like 5 accounts in Grandmaster, and I had like 10 other accounts in Master. Just to, that was when I was a little bit insecure about my rank, and I would test a lot and practice. But also I did that to get information for videos like this. And if you are in those ranks that I just talked about, and you feel, and you're trying to get better, and you feel, and you're trying to get better, and you don't feel good, you're probably in this spot, Valley of Despair, which is more appropriate to your competence level. If I'm being honest, if I'm truly being honest, this is a terrible place to be, and I don't want anybody to feel this bad. But this is more indicative of your actual skill in the game. If you ask anybody who is high ELO, almost anybody, the game doesn't even begin. The game is just fundamentally different. Once the game is stabilized, once like there's a meta that has developed, the game is just fundamentally different after 200 LP Master or 300 LP. So once you start getting into Grandmaster low challenger lobbies, you will start to find holes in your game that you did not know existed. It is just the reality. And I know that is tough for some people to hear, but the skill distribution of TFT is really just this. Once you hit a skill threshold of, I'd say about Platinum ELO, there's a skill threshold that you need to hit that is about at Platinum ELO. That if you can get to that skill threshold, getting to Master after that is not really a skill difference. It is a understanding the meta difference, and it is pressing the play button and just trying to win every game, not for funning. If you're not for funning, you're pressing the play button and you're keeping up with the meta. If you have the skill of a platinum player, you can hit Master, which is why, which you could take that as motivation or demotivation. I want you to take it as motivation. If you're platinum, if you're gold, understand that Master is super attainable for you. And I get people who ask me all the time, their goal is to hit Master. And I'm like, you can do it. I truly believe every single player can hit Master. Now, if you are someone who's really trying to get better and you are in platinum or something like that, and you can't hit Master and you're diamond, don't take that in a bad way. Everybody learns at their own pace, and everybody understands things at their own pace. And you could say understanding meta is a skill. I just think it's a really easy skill to figure out personally. But the point I'm trying to make here is, if you are someone who's platinum and you're trying, what the takeaways I want you to have. If you are someone who's platinum or maybe high gold or you're diamond, I want you to take this as motivation that if you take the game seriously and you practice and you understand the meta, you can hit master if that is your goal. If that is your goal. Now, if you're master, I don't want you to feel bad about your rank. If you're really happy about being master, I think that is awesome. I think that is so cool. That is reflective of the work that you put in, because it does take a lot of time and effort to hit master, despite me thinking it's not very difficult skill-wise to do. It is difficult in terms of time, in terms of effort. You got to keep up. It's a part-time job, just keeping up with the meta. So I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want that to be your takeaway. What I want your takeaway to be, if you're master and you're trying to push through to grandmaster and to challenger or something like that, you just have to drop your ego. You just have to. I remember the first time I hit master, and again, I'm someone who's super thoughtful. I like to think I'm someone who's super thoughtful and thinks about this stuff. First time I hit master, I felt like I could compete with the best of them. I really thought I was great. And then I hit about 400 LP and started to interact with challenger players. And I saw how weak my mid game was. I saw how weak I was at making like the best items. I saw how weak I was at allowing myself to play a weak early game. There were so many holes, and the holes in my game were, if I didn't have a strong early game, I'd lose, which is a lot of people. That's a really common problem. And I didn't know how to recapture that, how to play with econ in mid game, stuff like that. And you just won't see that really until you start to get punished, and you just don't get punished until about grandmaster or elo or high master. That is just a reality. And you can ask tons of other players. They'll give you the same opinion. I mean, there might be some that don't think that way, but I'm not interested in debating that unless you are literally, and this is going to sound like a lot of ego here, but unless you're literally a challenger, I just don't even think you have a scope of reference. I just don't even think you have a scope of reference to even talk about because you haven't even played in those lobbies where you get punished. So yeah. Anyways, takeaways: if you are in platinum or gold, or if you're below that and that's what your goal to reach, then know that you can reach higher. You can go for master, and that you can hit that. Now, if you're master, you need to climb off Mount Stupid. If you're there, go into the Valley of Despairs and start grinding your way up. It's tough. And if you're in the Valley of Despair, do not despair. There is so many resources to learn. It just takes time, and you just got to grind up. And remember, guys, I'm generalizing here. Your grind is your own grind, guys. You do not have to compare yourself to others. Your grind is your own grind, and I am just generalizing here. It takes time for some people. It just does. Some people don't have a good aptitude. All right. Enough about talking about this slide. I've talked about this enough, but again, guys, coming from a place of love, please just try to take this with that. All right, cool. Now I'm going to talk about my specific training method. This is what I do every single set, and this is actually what I have used to improve in any video game I've ever played. And also, I've used it in my personal life and professional life in other industries, but really reflects much better to TFT. So this is my training method: watch, play, reflect, repeat. Now, this is going to be very time intensive, and I'll talk about some time management strategies when I get done with this for those of you who don't have enough time to just like grind every day or grind 5 days a week like I do. I'll talk about some more time management stuff here, but do understand being good at this game, it does take a lot of time. And like I just said, keeping up with the meta, honestly, it's a part-time job in its own. So you do need a lot of time, but I'll talk about some time management. Okay, so my method is watch, play, reflect, then repeat the process. Okay, so what you want to do is, and what I do is, I watch someone better than me play. So watching someone better than you play with intent to learn. It's very important with intent to learn. You can't just like throw it on and just watch it and type Omega lol in chat or a bunch of Pepes the whole time. You can do that. You can have fun. Like I have fun while I'm watching and learning, but just really understand you need to have the intent to learn. You can't just throw it on and sit there and make fun of the streamer or whatever and expect to learn. You have to really watch and try to learn. This can help you find holes in your game and practice decision making without having the stress of winning the game. This is really important because whenever you're trying to learn while you're playing, you have so much stress about, you need to make your decisions really fast. You're thinking about too many things and you're thinking about the outcome of the game. And you can get really down on that. You can get really bogged down, and it makes it really hard to make decisions. Even me, someone who understands the game at a high level, it's very tough for me to learn while I'm playing. I can learn while I'm playing, but I feel like I do my best learning by just watching someone play, because you can just take the outcome and the stress out of the equation and just purely look at the decision-making process. Put yourself in the shoes of the player that's playing, and you make decisions in your mind before they make them. And then a lot of people are very good at talking out their decisions. A lot of people who stream. Then when they make a decision, if it's different than yours, ask in your mind why. And for some streamers, you can just ask them why, straight up why they did it, if they don't explain it very well. A lot of people will be happy to tell you why. For example, if you watch my stream, I'm constantly explaining my decision process. And if you ask me, I'm happy to explain it more if I don't. So just put yourself in their shoes and take the stress out of winning the game out. And you can get a lot of learning by just watching. I personally watch Soju in the mornings because he's a morning streamer. I think he's good at the game. And it just fits around my time slot. So I watch Soju, or sometimes I watch GV8 in the morning. So that's personally who I watch in the morning to play, because I think those players are better than me at the game. Cool. All right. Play. So now you got to play the game. So play, trying to apply what you learned from watching initially. Win and loss isn't important when first applying knowledge. It just isn't that important. But winning over a week period or so, over a little bit longer period, can be a good measure of learning after initial application. So when you're initially applying what you learned, win and loss is not that important. You need to just know whether you're appropriately applying those skills that you tried to learn from watching someone play. And then you can measure that by win and loss after a little bit longer of a period. You can measure that by your LP and by your stuff. But when you're initially trying to learn something, LP is fake and win loss is fake. Just know that. But after your initial learning period, when you're learning a new concept, then you can measure it by winning. But every time you learn a new concept, when you're trying to implement it, win and loss is not that important. You do need to lose a lot of games in order to learn. Personally, I have done that. Okay, now you need to reflect. Reflect after each session. I reflect after each session I play. I reflect after most games that I play. But if you're not able to do that, that's fine. It takes a little bit of time, and you have to have a little bit of a knowledge threshold to do that every single game. Just reflect after each session, then watch more. And now I'm talking, this is like my day. If I'm playing TFT, this is what I do every day that I play TFT. Then watch more. I personally watch Robin at nights, Robin Songs, because he just streams. He streams normally when I turn my stream off. So I watch him to do that. So again, this is what I do every single time. I watch, play, and reflect. And you can manage how much you watch and play. Sometimes I stop watching a lot more. So normally I start at a 50-50 split. Personally, I play for 6 hours when I play. I watch for 2 hours in the morning. Well, I guess it's not a 50. It's like a 60-40. I watch for 2 hours in the morning. I play for 6 hours. And then I cook dinner, do all that stuff. And then I watch for another 2 hours at night. So I'm watching for 4 hours, playing for 6. And you can just change that ratio based on how you're doing. Now, when I start to play the game a lot better, when I really feel like I've learned a lot of knowledge and I'm starting to win and I can start just gaining LP, winning more matches, then I'll change that ratio to maybe I'll play more. Maybe I'll do 1 hour in the morning, 8 hours of playing, 1 hour at night. Or maybe I'll end up just doing 1 hour, 6 hour, 1 hour, because I don't like to play past 6 hours. I get kind of dizzy. Anyways, so you can change that ratio to however you want to do. But I do like at first when you're learning initial stuff to have about a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split between playing and watching. Okay, time management. So if you do have a lot of time like me, you can just use my exact time management strategy that I just laid out. You can just do this every time you play if you have enough time to grind like that, if you're young or you're a student and you have that time. But if you have a full-time job or you are a student and your courses are pretty rigorous, if you'd have a full-time job, you're a fucking adult, it can be hard to do, right? But it is doable. You just need to change this method to not be every day, but to be let's say you have 3 days off on the weekend. You have Friday through Sunday off or something like that. Friday nights, or maybe you just have Saturday off. Saturday, Sunday off. Friday nights, this is when you need to be doing your watch phase. This is when you need to be watching for tons of hours, watching someone play. Maybe you can play one game in between watching a session to try to apply the stuff, maybe if you want to do that. But I would personally recommend watching on Friday nights to get the meta, to understand the meta, try to learn some more game concepts that you don't understand. And then over the weekend, you can just play a lot of games, right? And then at the end of the weekend, when you're done, try to reflect on it. Like Sunday night, play a lot on Saturday, play Sunday morning. And then on Sunday night, this is just me doing an example, by the way, of time that you could be managing. On Sunday night, you watch for try to do an equal amount of time you watched on Friday. Just try to reflect while the meta is still the same. So you don't have the variable of the meta. And then the next week, you just do the same thing. You learn the meta on Friday. You learn a couple new concepts. You play on Saturday. You play Sunday morning. And then Saturday night, you reflect on that. And basically, you can just take the meta out of the variable so you can just focus more on game concepts. And you can also keep up with the meta that way. I know that sounds like a lot of time, but if you truly want to be good at the game or good at anything, it just takes a lot of time in general. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for the video. I probably rambled on a lot in this video. I've been really excited to make this. I love talking about mindset stuff. I think it is so important. And I didn't just like click on a motivational Instagram account or something like that and just copy paste quotes. These are things that I truly believe in, and truly think that can help everybody. And that's my goal. That's my goal here. Anyways, if you want more of me, I stream about 5 days a week or so at twitch.tv/Trajan TFT. I would love to see you guys there. The stream is very educational, but also super fun. We have such a good time. We play a lot of bangers on there. It's just great vibes all around. And I think you guys would love it there if you like my videos and you like hanging out here. We have a great time over there. Also, you can follow me on Twitter. I post every day. And guys, I have 2K subscribers on YouTube, and I got 50 followers on Twitter. What's up with that? You know, I mean, none of you guys don't have to do anything. I appreciate you guys just being there, but you know, my dopamine receptors, my dopamine's running a little bit dry when I post on Twitter because you know, I don't see you guys there. But I would appreciate it if you did. But if not, I just appreciate that you made it all the way to this point in the video. And if you did, leave a comment below. I love reading that stuff. Again, because if you watched all the way through this video, I really think you learned. I really hope that you learned something. And if you did learn something, please let me know. Because yeah, that injects dopamine straight to my brain, and I love that shit. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a good night, good day, and wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. I'll catch you guys on the next one or the next stream. See you guys. Bye bye.